Hi, this is Cheryl and Claire. Welcome to NeuroTRYvergent, an experiment in living and working without the mask. It's a podcast where we discuss navigating career change and just existing in the world as a neurodivergent human. I'm Cheryl. I'm an ADHD adult, moving from being a professional nanny to a positive discipline trainer and parent educator slash consultant. Claire is a late diagnosed ADHD adult and founder of Wizard's Way Career Path Mapping. Her business is a combination of career coaching for neurodivergent folks, plus e-courses and workbooks. If you'd like to learn more about us, our links are in the description. Each week, we pick a topic and talk about the initial thoughts, the pros, the cons, and the balance of each concept. Then we try a 2-week experiment and discuss how it went the following episode. This week's experiment was on perfectionism. Tell us a bit about the experiment, Claire.
Yeah, thank you. Good to see you and good to be here again. So the experiment was all around recognizing and calling out perfection in our day-to-day lives. So I asked you and myself, as well as the viewers, to start by writing down a phrase that you could say to yourself when you notice perfectionism popping up. And the key thing here was be kind and compassionate. This is not an example, or it's not a permission to beat up on yourself, right, for not being perfect. That would be a little bit ironic. And then once you had your phrase, to come up with a small action that you would do or say when you did notice this happening. And then just kind of gave a strong recommendation to write down what you observed in this time, because 2 weeks can be a really long time to remember what you're actually learning about yourself. So, if I can, I'll start by sharing kind of my journey here, and then I'd love to hear what it was like for you, Cheryl. As you're watching this, please add to the comments if you tried this. Would love to hear how it went for you, what worked, what didn't, if you had any kind of like surprising things or interesting things come up. So,
Oh, and just one
yeah,
other thing. If you haven't seen the first episode, it should be linked in the too. So we'll probably have that at an end card or maybe up in a little card up here or whatever. So
good
feel free
idea,
to go
right?
back and look at that and so you can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about.
Sure. Or if you're like, oh, I really needed that one,
Yeah.
or I wish I would have done that experiment, like you could
Yeah.
still do it, right?
Yeah.
So I have the extreme need to process through writing a lot of the time or drawing. So I actually did use the experimental mindset process. And it's funny because I have a lot of these going right now. So I've learned I need to write on the top like what this is actually what this one was. Um, so the challenge that I was facing with the perfectionism was expecting myself and others, which I didn't see that was going to come up, and it really did, to do the thing, huge quotes, right, right? Or I had like specific high levels of wanting things to be. Um, the phrase that I came up with was either that's perfectionism love or that's the big P love. And I would say that to myself when it popped up. I liked the that's the big P love because it was a little bit silly sounding. And so it immediately kind of made me smile just for saying that to myself. My actions were pretty simple. First thing I was like, just to take a breath, right? Just to pause and take a breath. That happened. I noticed it. I noticed also that like I'd have a little bit of gratitude that I was even noticing it. Like that felt good. I was like, oh, I'm seeing this, right? Instead of just doing it. And then my follow-up action was, how can I back it down a notch? So not necessarily shut it down, like that might have not felt accessible all the time, but like how can I just back this expectation down a notch? So um, just real quick on some of my notes. So I ended up taking notes, looks like 6 times throughout the 2 weeks, on just the days that it happened or that I remembered to do it. The first couple of times I noticed it, I called it out, and it was all about myself, right? It was about something I was expecting of myself. And both of those felt good. I was like, oh, like I kind of said, like, oh, this feels good. I'm seeing this. And then I was like, all right, well, I was feeling like, oh, I've replaced the word exercising with movement, but I need to be doing more movement today and da 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 da. And I was being really intense with that. And I'd be like, oh, that's the big P, love. And I'd be like, I'm going to do some movement today.
Mhm.
And that all of a sudden felt like more accessible. Um, Now, later in this process, I was noticing it around my family. And I was having a lot of feelings about how messy my family is. Um, and that one had a very different feeling around it. Like the process was still really good, but it was a little more like painful. It felt more out of my control. And I didn't have that kind of like high of it. And I was able to be like, oh yeah, you can't control other people. That was kind of my back it down a notch. Like, yes, this is messy and I can't control them. I can either ask for help or I can do it myself or I can let it go. So, so I think that was kind of my biggest, and then I kind of ended it with another one on myself, like something that was really hard for me that I really stress out about a lot. And so that one, so I kind of ended the cycle on looking at myself. Um, and the thing I guess that like the biggest thing that struck me about this was noticing how, for me, how things felt when I was looking inward versus when I was looking outward. So that was a big learning that I wasn't expecting. And I actually plan to keep doing this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to keep it on the same level for myself. I think that that's working. But I'm adding like a bigger step to when it's other people. I think I need to like, I don't exactly know what that's going to be, but I think I'm going to add like a compassion step or something in there that helps me be a little more accepting of the things that other people do that trigger me or I don't like. Um, and that actually really trigger my autistic side, right? And the
Yeah.
need for order.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I got a lot out of this. Yeah, it felt like a really valuable experience for me. What
Yeah.
was it like for you, Cheryl?
It was really good. I wanted to just say about your experience, like it's so interesting how you were like, oh, wait a minute, I'm having this with other people too, right? Like it's not just turned internally. It's
Mm-hmm.
like it's painful. The painful word that you used was really poignant, I think. Like it
Yeah.
just was very like I get that. Like where it's like, it's I don't know. I don't think I have thoughts around it quite yet because you just brought it up and I didn't think about it that way. And so
Mm-hmm.
it just, I think that might be something in my next steps is looking at my perfectionism that I put on other people. Because it sucks when other people put their perfectionism on you, right?
Yes. Yes. It sucks. I don't want to do that to other
Yeah,
people. Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you're sitting there and you're like, there's like different ways that that's painful, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
one way it's painful is like, maybe why aren't they doing this for me? And another way it's painful is like, oh, shit, I'm doing this to them. And
Yeah.
it's like,
And it's probably having the opposite result.
yeah,
I think that's part of the painfulness. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
But it's just really, I don't know, that awareness was really good. And I really liked that part of your experiment and what it kind
thank
of
you.
came up for you. Yeah. Um, for me, my saying was, nice try. I see you, perfectionism. uh, and for some reason, it just got like this idea of it being like this little imp kind of that
Mm-hmm.
like just kind of sneaks in and like it was little, kind of
Totally.
devilish, but not the devil, right? It just made it so much smaller than this
Keep
big
talking. Yeah.
thing. Yes, perfect. It's like sitting there and be like, "Oh, is that what you're doing?" And I'll be like, "Nice try. I see you. I see what you're doing." Um, yeah, and it came up around a lot of the stuff that I was working on in terms of how other people perceive me.
Mm,
And I think and so my thought process from that, what would say to me myself is, am I good enough? Is this good enough? Like, and it just reminded me of that like 80% rule. Like, as soon as you get past working 80% on something, it's like, what is that called? The return on investment
yep.
is
Yep.
not, yeah, it's diminishing returns.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not worth it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that just came up for me a lot. And I was like, okay, is this good enough? Like, is
Yeah.
this fine? Is kind of the question that I asked myself. And then yeah, it kind of came up for me around everything like, I was doing my website. Is my website good enough? Am I doing this? And is this good enough? It was like, okay, I'm on the podcast. Do I want to change my lighting or what? Blah, 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 blah. And it would be like, I get into this like loop of
Mm-hmm.
perfectionism. And so it just kind of being able to like kind of pump the brakes a bit and be like, you almost, that was a great trap. That was really well designed trap. Perfectionism, imp. Great job. You almost got me that time. That was close. That was close. You know what I mean? And I could just like it just diffused all of that stuff that comes along with perfectionism of like I don't know, just making it something smaller that I can be like, "Oh, I don't know, I see what you're doing." And it just
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I got that a lot from it. And then the other thing I got from it was sometimes I use impulsivity to counteract my perfectionism,
It's totally.
right? So
Yeah.
I'm like stuck in this perfectionism. I'm exhausted. I don't want to do this anymore. And I just like hit send on an email that,
Mm. Oh my gosh. So
like
me. Yeah.
that I just don't want to do it. Like I can't take the perfectionism anymore. And so that other part of me is like, we're just gonna stop this. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're just either A, not gonna do it, we're gonna avoid it, we're going to just send it. Just send it. Just do it. Just it's good enough, it's fine. It's not like it's good enough, it's fine in a calm, rational way, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's like just get it away from me
Yes.
like at this point where it's like I just have to jump because I'm overthinking this too much and
Yes.
the like black and white kind of like thinking can get me it's like well I really screwed up on that one and then it reinforces that perfectionism piece right because it's like
Mm-hmm.
oh you messed up because you weren't careful enough
Yeah, then you use that as evidence against yourself
yeah and
later.
then you
Yeah.
burn
Or
out
I would, yeah.
and that
Hmm.
the other side of that black and white thinking is like oh now look at you you're killing yourself over this just
Yeah.
send it like
Yeah.
right and so it's like all right
Yeah.
let's
What
just
would
make
life be
everything right
like?
sized.
Like, what would life be like if you didn't have to pendulum swing? Like, I have to. I have to go right now, at least.
Hmm.
I have to go from one extreme to the other before I can kind of like venture back towards the middle.
Yeah and I compare it
Oh,
to um I'm replacing the switches in my brain with knobs
yes. You
right?
shared
And
that
so I
before.
can dial it and control it that way, but sometimes I forget that I have knobs
Yeah.
installed and I just go boop, thinking it's still like that switch of like, okay, I'm tired, so I'm gonna sleep for 3 days. Oh,
Yeah.
I slept for 3 days. Now I have to stay up for 3 days to like make up for that, back and forth. And
I
I'm
had
like,
to I had totally forgotten I got that concept of knobs from you because that's what I was thinking when I said dial it back a notch.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
exactly what I was thinking. And now, as soon as you said that, I remember the conversation we had with another person where that
yeah.
first came up. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Wow.
that was my experiment.
Awesome. Great. One more thing, like just yeah, you sparked so much in me. That is this good enough? It's not the same thing at all, but it reminds me of that like classic therapy question. Is that true?
Is that
You
true?
know, like, and
Oh,
it's
I
just
see.
like, it's just enough to be like, oh, I feel like those like simple questions that like kind of wake you up. And then just like
Yeah.
that realization about using impulsivity. Wow, that hit that. Yeah. Yeah, that is, that is me. So, well, good. Well, good.
Yeah.
Yay. I think that was really fun. And I'm glad that we chose perfectionism as a starting point because there was just so much there
Yeah.
for both of us. So,
And putting it at the forefront of our beginning our podcast, I think was a good move on our part.
right, right. And then, yeah, because it just added so much because now we have that like foundation too about like not being perfect. So
Yeah.
it's very cool. So our topic today is kind of one of these big nebulous beasts as well. And it's a topic that's like very, very dear to my heart because I super suck at it on many levels. And it's time and time management. And every time I say the word time, I hear this like conversation I had recently at a retreat. What is time? Like it always feels like it's so interesting that like it's such an abstract thing. And it's also so prevalent in every minute of my existence. And it just like that. So, one of the things about my brain is like in those extremes, if they don't make sense, it can kind of like glitch me out a little bit, right? To have that both of those. Sometimes it's like, oh yeah, yeah, I get that. So I frequently joke that time is my nemesis. Um, and so like kind of for initial thoughts, this is not anywhere new for me. Um, it's long before I was diagnosed autistic and ADHD. Like I have frequently struggled with time, and it's shown up in a lot of different ways. I was a teacher for 11 years, and I part of the reason that I quit teaching and decided to try different careers is that I just had shit for boundaries, and it was like, they're kids. How can I not do more? How can I not make this activity, this lab, this whatever even better? But I could create a game for that. And then I would spend 20 hours on a 1 hour game that we would play in the classroom. Like I just had horrible boundaries with it. And so I thought that was going to change when I left teaching. And um, I thought that was going to change when I left teaching. And that was like the first time I learned a really valuable thing about myself. Oh, it wasn't teaching, it was me. And I just don't have a great relationship with time. And so I'm going to use this one's a very different candle. And it has lots on there, but I'm just going for the uncrossing. So I light this candle anytime things feel challenging or mixed up or muddled. So I'm going to light my uncrossing calendar. It's not a calendar, it's a candle. Don't light your calendars on fire. Um,
Well, I mean,
there.
that would be timely for the topic.
Okay, maybe metaphorically light your candles on fire, but not in real life. So those are my initial thoughts on time. Very much struggled with it. Um, don't have the best relationship with it. Um, don't fully understand it, and at the same time, am incredibly obsessed with time. So I'll dig in more later, but I'd love to hear kind of your initial thoughts on time management, any of that.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I can't wait to hear about it. Because that boundaries thing you said was great. So when we picked time management, I was like, okay, this is good. And then part of me was like, screw this. I think I felt about time management the way you felt about perfectionism was like, blow it up. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? It kind of is like, and it's just, you know, yeah, I don't understand time very well. Um, uh, when I brush my teeth, I have a little thing that buzzes every 30 seconds. so that you do the right
Hmm.
amount on each quadrant of your mouth or whatever. I hate that thing. I hate that part of my day every single day. And it's like, it's the longest 2 minutes or whatever that's ever existed in my entire life. And then I kind of go into this dissociation mode, and then I don't feel the buzzes anymore. And I don't know if I've brushed all my teeth. I don't know if the buzzes have gone off. And that sums up so beautifully what like what time management is for me. Where it's like I hate having this time management thing the way that I've been doing it. Let me preface by saying that. I hate having the time management thing the way I've been doing it, but I need it because I need to make sure everything's done because I
Yeah.
want to make sure everything's that I want to do is done, that I have
Hmm.
time for things, right? And
Yeah.
and I just on top of that, then I get overworked with it and then I start ignoring it, right? So people are like, "Oh, set a timer." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, that works if timers work." If I remember to set it, A, B, listen to it when it goes off. You know what I mean? Like there are all of these things that happen and they can be a very helpful tool. And there are all these well-intentioned tools that I think sometimes just feel like instead of helping me, they're just like throwing more rakes onto the ground so I can step on them and they hit me in the face. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like that's
Yeah.
the like feeling I get where it's like, oh yeah, use more tools to that you can fail at. Here's more things that you
Mm-hmm.
can not use. So my cons list is very well done. My pros list I needed to work on a little bit. I'll say that in
Yeah.
the long run.
That makes sense. Let's do that. Let's go there. So um I like to think about this topic a little bit ahead of time, um, but not too much. Um, and so I was like, pros about time. And then I was like, well, that seems really odd. Like it felt really odd to me to be thinking about what are the good things about time, because I was just fixated on it being time other than time management, because I'm pushing back against that term a little bit, even though
Yeah.
that's just a me struggle.
Mhm.
And you know what came to mind? Vampires. So stay with me for a second.
Naturally.
So so I think actually one good thing about time has to do with vampires. So I was never like a vampire person. Like I like monsters a lot, but I never was like I love vampires. They're fine. They're cool, whatever. Um, but what I notice in the little bit of reading of vampires and being in, because I love story and I love monsters, like classic monsters, is that vampires are not bound by time, right? If you're immortal, you could say this for any other immortal ones, but let's stay on the vampire thing. Um, and they're not bound by time, and they're almost always depressed and don't appreciate anything about their existence, and are or either that or are just so apathetic and so checked out. Um, and I think that's a function of time. When you have infinite time, it's like existence means nothing.
Mhm.
And so I think that this is abstract. This is where I'm going with good time because I have a lot of the bad stuff. Um, I I think that time, like something being finite. So maybe what I'm really talking about is finite existence, of being a human, and unpredictable existence. Like, yes, I might live to an old age, but I might not. You know, like that unpredictability of not knowing when I will die adds joy to my life.
Yeah.
It allows for um, there's a lot of struggle and there's a lot of pain and all that's in there too, but then that also allows for things for me to feel joy, and to feel fulfilled. in the moment. Um, and then I think that there's actually something really good for me in time, in time management, and that is it's very hard. Um, I struggle with trying to do too much. Um, and I'll talk about this more, but like uh, that's like program, it's so many things. I struggle with trying to do too much. And what I've learned or what I've experienced is that the less I do, the more time I feel like I have. And that's a lesson I need to learn. So, vampires and less is more. Two pros of time. Not being a vampire. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for going on that ride with me.
Oh,
What
no,
about
no,
you?
no. It totally makes sense. And it totally makes sense why vampires in all these stories are obsessed with this with a mortal woman
Yes,
because
because
they
that's not
love the
creepy.
idea of
Yeah.
that, right?
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
love the idea of the finite and but they're stuck in the infinite.
Yeah.
I never even thought about that with vampires. Thank you. I mean, or time. You made good points about time as well, not just vampires. Um, but yeah, so the pros for me of time management. Um, for me, having the types of tools that work for me a lot are when I can have fun with time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So Alex is going to be home in an hour. Alex is my husband. Um, how much can I get done in the hour between when he's gone and when he comes home? Not because I feel like I owe him anything or anything like that. It's a completely arbitrary boundary that I'm setting, but it makes it something that my brain can get excited about, right? So, and I think in that lies the key to enjoying time management for myself and doing it in a way that works for me versus it being like, yeah, just like, I don't want to do this now, or like, you have to do this now, right? Like, sometimes you have to do this now,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of times you don't have to do this now. You just have to do something now.
Yeah.
Um, like just any of the like list of things that you need to do, right? Um, and yeah, for me, I think I think I'm really proud of how I'm kind of careful of my time and protective of my time in a way. Um, and like that can be really positive for me in a lot of ways. Because it's precious to me. And I think this kind of gets back
Mm, mm.
um at your vampire thing, because we kind of came up with both of that at the same, individually is the the lack of time makes what you do important, right?
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
helps to prioritize things. And it helps to m- make things that are meaningful with your life.
Hmm.
You want to do something in a certain amount of time because you have other things that you want to do and you want to make room for those things. And that's amazing. Like the ability to limit your choices makes you live in your values, I think is the ultimate thing with time, is that
Yeah.
it reinforces values
Yeah. I think
for
that's,
me.
I haven't actually read more than the beginning of the book, but I think that's the exact idea of the book Essentialism.
Mm.
Yeah, which I do want to read that book, but who has the time? I'm just kidding.
It didn't make it on the top of my time list.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
Uh, but yeah.
Good. Yeah. And I hear like a little bit of gamifying of it too. And, not to use that word if people are sick of that word, but that's kind of what yeah, like using time.
100%.
I never thought of that. So,
Yeah.
well, let's talk about some cons since that's where we both are wanting to go. Um, so, or at least we did in the beginning.
Yeah.
Um, so I, I've written about this before and I think about it a lot and I talk about it a lot. And it's that I feel an inherent tension, and it's largely based around time from the two sides of my neurodivergence. So my autistic side craves deep time with few transitions. So I want a big block of time where no one's going to bug me and I can deep dive into something. And then if in the middle decide I don't want to do that anymore, I can go somewhere else. But it's this like at least 3 hours of time. And I crave that. I crave that. My ADHD side is hyperactive and impulsive, and it is excited by so many things.
Mhm.
And it wants to do this and it wants to do that. And this is interesting and that is interesting. And it engages without thinking.
Mhm.
And so what I've experienced, through multiple like career changes, and especially now that I work for myself and I can structure my time however I want,
Mhm.
um, is that I'm really seeing this push pull or this stretching of this rubber band of these two sides. Um, and I just like, and I hit like a really big low in 2020 where I just decided that I kind of was done with humans and I didn't like them. And that was a very dark process. And I crawled back a little bit from that. And then recently I got involved in some communities when I threw my net bigger and I was like, I'm going to go international, I'm going to go national to look for people. I realized, oh, I don't actually hate humans. And there are a lot of good people out there. And there's people that I relate to. And there's people, and then learning about my own brain and then getting to talk to people that have a similar brain type. But one of the things I did was I was like, community, join this community and join this community and join this community. And then uh, so then I did, but then I didn't have any time to do anything else. So it's like, oh, I'm trying to start a business and go through all of these things. And these communities are good because we're all supporting each other in ideas and I'm talking and I'm renewing my faith in humanity and like big stuff. But then I didn't have any time to do like the actual work that I was wanting to do. So that's the biggest like con for me, is that I just feel really split on how to handle time. And I think so. What I've been doing is a lot of experimenting, and I'll talk about this later when we talk about the balance, but a lot of experimenting of how could it look to meet some of those both sides of those needs with
Mhm.
it. And then one other thing that I really experience is I'm working on I time dread. So if I have an appointment at 3 o'clock, and I'm moving out of this a little bit, but I will stress about that all day long
Mhm.
so that I'm not enjoying my time because this is going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
And so I call that time dread. Um, yeah. So those are my main cons, like tension on how to spend it and time dread.
Awesome. I get that. Everything you said was relatable. And it just is like, I mean, it kind of works really well into my cons of, I think I've used time as a ruler to measure myself with and then hit myself with when I wasn't good.
Hmm.
Um, and like to the point that I would be showing up places early where I didn't need to be early because I was so afraid of being late. Um, and and like one of the things about time is that it's so linked with culture. Um, I remember I was living in New Jersey for a while, and then I moved down to South Carolina for like a summer, just for a bit, and then I moved back, and it really hit me. It was like the main difference between that I found between New Jersey and South Carolina, and probably in a lot of ways the Northeast and the Southeast, is in New Jersey, if you take up people's time without a good reason, you're the worst. You're just the worst. And in the South, if you don't spend the time you need to on people, you are the worst. So it's like this completely different idea of what time is.
Hmm.
And I've lived in lots of places where the view on time is different. Um, and it just, it's so, to borrow a term, wibbly wobbly, even when we're going through
Timey-wimey.
it
Hmm.
in a linear fashion. It's like it's something that just doesn't make sense to me, and I can't wrap my head around it. So I have to use a lot of things to help me wrap my head around this concept that guides so much of culture, of perspective, of
Yeah.
people, of whatever, and I just can't get it,
Hmm.
you know? And so I think that there's a lot of inadequacy feelings there
Hmm.
for me when it comes to time. Um, and that feeling, we joke, this is a thing that we say is there's no time. Like, so
Yeah.
I'll be like, Alex, help. I need to take my pills. My brain is telling me there's no time to take my pills. It is like the most important thing. I need help. And he's like, there's time. There's always time for your pills. And I'm like, thank you. I need to hear that. I can take my
Yeah.
pills. So yeah, it's just like this thing that I feel like I've been in a fight with for
Yeah.
a long time. And um
Yeah. I know I keep doing that too.
so yeah,
Words. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's my cons.
um because I'm like making an effort to like be transparent. Like this is, you could tell this is a tense topic for me because I had to pull out the big guns for stimming. This is Moiraine. She is comforting me with this time discussion. I usually would just hide her down here,
Yeah.
but you all get to see her because she's lovely. Um, okay, so given that, um, thinking about like the pro world and the con world both exist, but they don't exist in isolation. They exist at the same time. So thinking about where do I find balance? I've recently been really inspired to reinvent my relationship with time. And it's I think this one is gonna take a really long take a long time. Now I can't stop saying time. I think I'm gonna have to work on this for a while, is what I'm saying, because it's like so wired into my thinking and my being. So I just wanted to share a couple of ways that I'm doing that. So many people recommended Oliver Burkeman, 4,000 Weeks. So I'm reading that book. It's really good. It is striking me as being very neurotypical in a lot of places. And it's really good. So there's that. I also really interested in and read a lot of Make Time, and they have a really great newsletter. Another book that I actually have a physical copy of. Um, And so, like, learning is really important to me. Like, what if, because sometimes if I can hear somebody else's relationship, then it opens up a door. I'm like, oh, I could have a different relationship of time with time. Like, I don't have to live in time dread and I don't have to live in toxic productivity. I could do something else. So that's what the reading's about. And then I am like, and then I worked with coaches and for the like December, January, February, March, and did kind of like a lot of learning and focusing in on this and like iterative experiments with it. And one of the things I came to, and you can't probably really see this, but you'll get the gist of it, is I right now use an A-B schedule. So one, I have an A week and a B week. And then certain days have certain categories of focus. So, for example, Monday is a learning day, business projects, no coaching, and as few meetings as I can schedule on Mondays. Um, I have to use general categories because I have pretty intense PDA. Um, now it's rebranded to persistent demand for autonomy from pathological demand avoidance. As soon as even I tell myself I need to do a specific thing, I don't want to do it anymore. So, but if I say, oh, okay, I get to work on business projects today, I get to learn today. That gives that's it's and it's really working. It was more of an experiment for a while. It's like, oh, okay, that gives me a wide enough window that I still have a focus on how I spend my time, but I'm not going to trigger that PDA. Um, I'm doing another experiment right now on it says adding in, if you can read my handwriting. Um, such deep people pleasing stuff in my being. If somebody asks me, "Hey, I need this. Can you do it?" I will just yes, I can do that. And what was happening was I was adding so much in that then I was again overscheduled. So I have a no adding in within a certain time frame. So within like a week, unless it's an emergency, like family kind of blows this up a lot, but that's what family is, so that's okay. But with at least the work environment, um, I don't add in within the week. This is my schedule. I can add it in next week because that hasn't happened, you know. So I'm practicing that. I've prioritized my communities. So I need very clear expectations of myself. And so I'm like, okay, my mom on the spectrum um, and my chaos cooperative. Those are my top two because those are my neurodivergent communities. Those are my top two communities that I'm going to give the most attention to and I'm going to show up the most consistently to. I have all these other fabulous communities that I love, but they get a little bit less of me. And I have to write that down. It's over here on a bunch of post-its. I have to write that down because I will not do it and I will forget. And then the last thing is I rebelled a little bit against body doubling for a while because like for my work, I don't like body doubling because I don't like somebody talking to me and I don't why I'm doing it. It's very distracting. But I found it very useful for things like exercising, doing some like movement and doing my physical therapy exercises. And that's a way of time that's really worked for me because I check in with somebody at the beginning. I have a known quantity of time that I have to work on this thing. So I know it's going to end. And then I check in with them at the end. And there's so many times where I would have stopped doing that thing if I didn't have to check in with folks. Um, so that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I feel like I have a long way to go, but I feel like I've actually made some steps towards changing how I feel about time. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you know what? It's interesting because it's kind of similar to how I'm feeling about the balance of my time,
Okay.
where it has to be, there's this balance between boundary and flexibility, right?
Hmm.
Between, discipline in the positive meaning of the word, right? In the
Yeah.
point of like setting internal boundaries with yourself so that to love and care and protect yourself, right? And then also having things be flexible enough that I can follow my values and my passions in that. And I think it's, basically what you're saying, where the balance is giving yourself the freedom to be pulled towards something versus being pushed towards something. Um, and not wanting to do it because you have to. I relate with that a lot. And uh but also I think the thing for me is making it fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see how many I can get done in this. Or gamifying it or doing whatever. I don't do well with points and things like that because I just kind of am like, well, or I could just not.
Yeah. Is this
You
really worth
know,
a point? No.
it's just like, what's a point? Um, and so it's like, okay, well, start doing the things you want to do. And a lot of times I get like the momentum to start doing the things I don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or my brain isn't interested in at the moment. But if it's like, wow, I've gotten like, I do sticky notes on the side. I
Mm-hmm.
do 4 sticky notes of what I want to
Yeah.
get done in the day just to have my priorities up.
Mm-hmm.
And like when I get done with 3 of the sticky notes, I'm excited to get done with the last sticky note that I really
Yeah.
don't want to do. And it's more like a how I talk to myself about it that
Mm-hmm.
is changing. Um, and like you said, your relationship with time is changing. Um, so it's just like it is a slow process because there are some deep grooves that have been put into my head. And there's a lot of rebellion. It invites a lot of rebellion in
Mm-hmm.
me when
Mm-hmm.
there are too strict time limitations or time should be a certain way or should be spending my time a certain way, right? Like, so being able to step back from that and finding the fun
Mm-hmm.
is a lot of the balance for me.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
I think so as I'm sitting here listening to you, I wrote several things down that feel like that they would be a good experiment.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So I think, and you might need to help me get the words in a good place for this one. Let's see how it comes out. So
Yeah.
I think that the experiment or the challenge is to change your relationship with time in one way over the next couple of weeks.
Mhm.
It could be a small thing. So this could be making it fun. So like the idea of um, my partner's coming home in an hour, what can I get done in that time would be a total flip for me,
Yeah.
right? Like that's really flipping the way I'm thinking. Um, and so that might be something that I try. So that would be a change instead of being like, oh no, I don't have enough time. Da, 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 da. It's like, okay, what can I get done? That might be take a nap because I'm not going to get another chance, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's still a thing. So it could be how do you make it fun? It could be choosing to do less and see how you feel. Um, it could be maybe you're a person that wants to do more. I don't know. I can imagine somebody might feel that way.
Hmm.
Uh, and then the other thing, oh, or maybe like is if if you fall on the neurodivergent side, like I do, of liking a lot of systems and structure, is there a system you can try out? Like I said, my AB weeks. I've really switched to like an every other week way of thinking. Like I plan almost nothing on a weekly basis because if I do it on every other week, then I've now opened up. I can do twice as many things, and that's fun. So is it trying out a structure? Um, yeah.
Or
So
sticking with the structure,
yeah,
right?
or sticking with a structure. Yeah, or maybe even just agreeing, like if you have a structure, maybe agreeing to make some observations about that,
Yeah.
right? Like how's
Yeah.
that working
Yeah.
like some real, just like, this is what I did, this is how it felt,
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. So yeah, so I think that's our challenge, is to change your relationship with time in one way. It can
Mm-hmm.
be as big or as small as you want it to be. Ideas are making it fun, choosing to do less, trying a structure, observing a current structure,
Mm-hmm.
or anything else that you can think of.
Yeah, and we'd love to hear more what you're gonna do in the comments because it can
Yeah.
really inspire other people who maybe are feeling at a loss of what they can do. And I know that it can really give me like it can get my brain kind of going into things when I'm feeling stuck or overwhelmed.
Yeah, and so this would be a great one, right, to say at the beginning, if you're
Hmm.
feeling like inspired at the beginning, and then I love that idea of like bookending it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Feel free to
great.
use this as bookending
Yeah,
for yourself, you know?
yeah, that's a great idea. Or use this as your body doubles, right, of the people
Yeah.
that you're accountable to.
Hmm.
That's really cool. All right. So with that, I think I'm going to call this time. So Cheryl, if folks want to find out more about you, can you remind us where they can get that info?
Absolutely. My website is CherylTheNanny.com. And there you'll find my book of poems. You'll find what I do for work. You'll find a link to this podcast if you forget. Yeah, so find me there.
Excellent. And if those words just filtered weird in your head, it will be linked in the description.
Yeah,
And I am wizards-way.mykajabi.com, or at Wizard Claire on Substack and LinkedIn. And thanks so much for spending this time with us.
it was a wonderful time.
It was a wonderful time.
See
All
you
right.
next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, perfectionism moment. Sorry.